Project Ascension by Darthlink and The Myth. Chapter 1.
Scootaloo, I think this is a bad idea. I have to agree with Applebloom on this. This is just too scary.
Don't be scaredy cats now, you two. This is our calling. Cutie Mark Crusader Bungee Jumpers! 3 little fillies were balancing on top of a branch at their clubhouse. Each one had a helmet on and rope tied to their waists that acted as a substitute for a bungee coil. The orange Pegasus, named Scootaloo, was grinning in glee at the new stunt they were going to perform, but her friends were another story. The white unicorn named Sweetie Belle, in reality, was terrified of heights. So, to even stand a few meters from the ground was draining all her willpower. Applebloom, the little yellow earth pony, was relatively calm, but still exercised caution by fastening her rope and adjusting her helmet to not fall off. Scootaloo peered down the edge of the branch and let out a huff. On my mark! 3, 2, 1, go! As the final word escaped from her mouth, all 3 fillies jumped and yelped out at the speed they were falling. It was over in nearly 3 seconds, with Sweetie Belle and Applebloom dangling from the rope and becoming dizzy with every motion the rope performed. Scootaloo was another story. As her rope came to its end, it snapped as she fell to the ground, landing on her belly with a thud. Ow! Was all she could utter, and stood up groaning at the pain from the fall. She buzzed her wings, only to be able to lift herself up from the ground for a few seconds before giving away and landing on all fours. Once Sweetie Belle and Applebloom got to the bottom, Applebloom checked her flank in anticipation, but her face became crestfallen to see her flank remaining blank.
Well, that was a bust.
Applebloom groaned and fell on her back, helmet cushioning her head. Scootaloo also dejectedly sighed and sat next to her Earth Pony friend. Guess that wasn't our calling. Sweetie Belle noticed her friends, becoming slightly depressed, and spoke up.
Well, maybe we can figure out some other things to do before next week, huh?
Applebloom's face lit up like a torch.
Oh, that's right. It's Scootaloo's birthday.
Cheered in excitement, though Scootaloo still had a somber face.
Hey, Scootaloo, what's wrong? Ain't y'all happy it's your birthday?
Scootaloo stood up and examined her wings, giving them a few flaps and trying to lift herself up, but failed once again. She let out a sigh with her eyes closed and turned to her friends.
Applebloom, how old will I be turning next week?
She asked her friend rhetorically.
10, why?
Scootaloo sighed and shook her head.
10, and I can't even fly yet.
And I have no cutie mark. That's why. She raised her voice slightly to her friend, though she immediately backed down after seeing the shocked look on their faces. Sorry. Applebloom and Sweetie Belle trotted to her side, hugging her.
Scootaloo, it don't matter if you can't fly yet or don't have a cutie mark. We all don't have ours yet, but when we do, it'll be like Rainbow Dash Science. Awesome!
Applebloom encouraged Scootaloo, who let out a chuckle at Applebloom's impersonation of her idol. Sweetie Belle nodded in approval.
That's right, you are Scootaloo, the Pegasus who will be faster than Rainbow Dash and a useless orphan chicken.
The 3 friends stood still and turned their heads to see a sneering pink earth pony with a diamond tiara on her head standing next to a silver grayish earth pony with glasses. Though the silver earth pony stood still there with her eyes moving in nervousness, her pink friend had an evil grin on her face as she laughed at the 3 friends who were staring daggers at her.
Can't believe you're turning 10 next week. Amazing you got so far for a blank.
She jeered, laughed like she had just told the amusing joke ever, with her friend joining in reluctantly.
Oh, great. It's the snob duo. What y'all doing here? This is Apple property.
Applebloom took a menacing step toward the duo, Silver Spoon backing away slightly, but Diamond Tiara was another story, as she just stood there with a grin and let out a chuckle.
Well, it looks like a dumb blank is trying to tell me what to do with Ponyville. That belongs to my family, and thus belongs to me,
she said with a tone of finality in her voice. Sweetie came to her friend's aid, glaring at the pompous filly who stood there before them as though she was a demon demanding to be worshipped.
You don't own this town. You can't just come here and insult us. Don't you have anything better to do?
She asked Diamond Tiara, who was starting to laugh cruelly.
Well, this is priceless. Now a magicless unicorn is trying to stand up against me. What are the odds of that?
She laughed as more as Sweetie Belle had tears forming in her eyes, Apple Bloom holding her friend to comfort her. Guess your daddy doesn't love you much, does he? Diamond Tiara's laughter stopped abruptly when those words were spoken, and glared at Scootaloo, who was marching toward her with a triumphant smile to see the bully being silenced.
What you say, huh?
I said, your daddy doesn't give you much attention or love, 'cause his only love is money. I bet that tiara on your head is a fake! Scootaloo pointed to her head, with Diamond Tiara's anger growing, the silver spoon gasping at her friend's emotional state.
At least I have a daddy and a mommy. I don't think I've even seen your parents.
She snarled at Scootaloo. The Pegasus' eyes went wide at this. Small tears prickled her eyes. Diamond Tiara took notice, and smirked at this newly discovered weak spot.
Yeah, that's right. I bet you don't even have parents, do you? No pony would ever want you as their daughter because you're just a flightless chicken.
I am not! Scootaloo stuttered, but this only added more fuel to the bully's tirade.
I bet you live out on the streets. That's why you stink like dung all the time.
Scootaloo's mouth hung open, and her tears flowed freely, while Diamond Tiara laughed at the critical strike.
Why don't you just get lost? If your own parents don't want you, what makes you think we do?
This was the breaking point. Scootaloo turned around and galloped as far as she could away from the others. Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom called out for her, while Diamond Tiara stomped her hooves in joy, with Silver Spoon looking nervously.
And stay out, you homeless chicken!
A tremor shook the fillies, and something large fell from the sky, landing right behind Diamond Tiara. Her glee was replaced by fear, as the people shrank with every breath she felt on her back. She turned her head slowly to look behind her, to see a sight that would forever haunt her. A cyan Pegasus with a rainbow-colored mane stood behind her, glaring with murderous eyes at the earth pony before her. She took a deep breath, closing her eyes before she did something regretted. You know, I was just flying along, enjoying a nice, peaceful flight, and I could have sworn I overheard you bullying my #1 fan. She said the words with a politeness that very much transparently fake. She leaned in closer to the spoiled filly, with a look on her face similar to a dog about to strike. You wouldn't really want to do that, would you? Diamond Tiara gulped and stepped back.
My daddy is the richest pony in town. You better not hurt me.
Oh, how cute. Playing connections. Let me try. My best friend is Princess Celestia's personal student. I'm pretty sure she could clear any matters up. Would you like to find out just what I could get away with? I've never really tried it, and I'm kind of curious. By this point, the pink filly was hyperventilating. She took her head frantically, with her eyes tearing up. Then do me a favor and get lost! Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon yelled in panic, and ran toward Ponyville with their tails between their legs, with Rainbow Dash standing as firm and rigid as a member of the Royal Guard. And you better not mess with Scoots and her friends again! You hear me? I mean it! She yelled at them, then turned her attention elsewhere. She lifted herself up, scanning the area for Scootaloo, wondering where the little filly ran off to. We're here, the first pony said, as he and his partner trotted into town. They stood firmly and professionally, which actually attracted a few stares, but they paid him no heed. They were both earth ponies, one a dark blue, the other a pure black, both wearing sunglasses. They both wore their manes shortly and evenly cut. Thus another aspect of them that told the town they were professional. The blue pony bore a cutie mark of a magnifying glass. The black one, a single white hoof print. The black pony looked around the town square. I could see why some pony would hide here. Small, quiet, looks pretty unimportant. Looks unimportant, yes, Blue noted. But the land here provides some valuable crops for Canterlot, so there is some government scrutiny. Maybe that's why she picked it, Black suggested. Easy to access food. Must be. Even if she's here, I'm sick of dead ends. We really have to watch ourselves here. I know, Black mumbled, leaving a huff. Twilight, Sparkle, and the rest of the bearers live here. There are hooves that we don't want to be stepping on. Agreed. Let's split up and get a lay of the land. If she is here, we best know the area a bit. Rainbow Dash searched for nearly 20 minutes before finding her number one fan sitting under a tree. Her hose covered her eyes, hoping he would stop the tears. Gently, she glided down to her, silently landing by her side. "Hey there, Squirt," she said gently, reaching out a hug to her. Scootaloo jumped at the voice appearing out of nowhere. She began backing away, but stopped and sighed when she saw who it was.
Rainbow Dash, you surprised me.
Rainbow Dash smirked at the quick correction, and only grinned wider at seeing her trying to wipe her eyes.
I was just thinking about...
Scoots, I saw those two fillies picking on you. Don't worry, I got rid of them. They know better than to mess with you now. A buzz came onto the orange pony's face.
Oh,
Rainbow gave another sympathetic smile, understanding her embarrassment at her eyes seeing her crying. Kid, are you really, do you have parents?
Yes.
Scootaloo said with a quickness that made her mentor superiors.
They're just never around.
Always working, huh? The science opponent nodded sympathetically.
Yeah, that's why I can't fly yet.
She kicked the ground with her front left hoof.
They never have time to teach me.
What do they do?
They work for a delivery company.
They're always away on long trips. Rainbow Dash listened for any hesitations in that story. Hearing none, her suspicion dismissed. Well then, how would you like it if I taught you a few things? Scootaloo gaped at her, then her eyes widened like it was heartwarming morning.
Really? Learning to fly? From you? The most super awesome incredible pony in Equestria?
You forgot. Fantastic, the elder mare boasted.
And that's what I said, wasn't it? Cool! Can we start now? Can we?
Whoa, cool your jets. Rainbow Dash waved her hose. I've got weather patrol in 10 minutes, so not today, but we'll start soon. How's that? Scootaloo's ears drooped as she lowered her head gently.
Oh, okay. See you later, Rainbow.
She bid her idol farewell, though Rainbow started off staring at the running filly with concern before flying off to weather duty. Once she was gone, a black earth pony came from behind a tree and looked into the distance to where Scootaloo ran off to. He laughed triumphantly before putting his sunglasses back to hide his eyes. Gotcha. Ponyville was a town where many extraordinary events happened, with extraordinary ponies or other creatures being a part of it. Though today, the citizens of Ponyville were beginning to get awfully suspicious of two Earth ponies who entered the town no less than an hour ago. One of them, a dark blue pony, was walking through the town with an emotionless face and his sunglasses covering his eyes. He didn't speak to any pony, but kept surveying the street layout, as if he were sketching a blueprint of the city in his mind. The citizens simply looked down and moved on, not knowing how to handle such an enigma. As he was nearing the Sugar Cube corner, his ears perked up as he heard his partner calling to him. Blue! The voice of the black stallion, who was running towards him, called, Black, Laporte. The dark blue stallion told his partner as he stood in front of him. I found her, the black stallion said, with the dark blue stallion removing his sunglasses to reveal his eyes nearly popping out. Are you certain? He whispered to his partner, who merely nodded. Positive. Let's get her. The dark blue stallion placed his sunglasses back on, shaking his head. Not so fast. We can't risk any pony chasing after her. We don't know if another family has taken her in, or if she has connections in this town. We need to keep playing this by the book. Blue began trotting to City Hall. We go and talk to the mayor as planned. If all goes well, the child will be brought home by tonight. Blue ran ahead, with his partner Black following him. With the doors of Sugar Cube Corner opening, a pink earth pony looked at those two running to the exit of Ponyville as though they carried the plague.
My pinky says it's tingling. Something bad's going to happen,
she said as her tail began to shrink and puff out again.
I have to find Rainbow, quick!
She told herself as she zoomed toward the other side of Ponyville. Mayor Mare was currently performing her least favorite task as an elected official, paperwork. Sighing, she scrawled her signature on a permit to allow another traveling performer to put on a show in town square. Then another, approving the new waterway system Princess Celestia had seen fit to install in the city. She couldn't help but grin. Getting funding for the princess was pretty easy, now that the comfort and happiness of her personal student was at stake. Excuse me, Miss Mayor. The aged man looked up to see two ponies he didn't recognize. She set her quill down.
Santa Claus, I don't believe I've seen you in town before.
Indeed, Mom, Blue said, his mouth going into his pocket. He pulled out a wallet and flopped down on the desk. It was an ID card with his picture on it, topped with the letter DFS. Loyal to the Department of Full Services. We believe a runaway foal has hidden in your town, Black finished.
Oh my, are you sure?
In response, Black fisted a photo out of his pocket. It was of Scootaloo, looking as he was displeased with having her photo taken.
Yes, I recognized her. I've seen this filly around town several times.
Where's he living? Blue said.
I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Mayor apologized. Maybe look at the city records then.
Of course, they're located at the city library.
Both of the agents arched an eyebrow. I've never heard of a city keeping records there. Mayor actually blessed.
Well, I tend to be a little scatterbrained when it comes to paperwork. The town librarian, on the other hand, is well known for keeping everything in order. She tends to handle most of these things.
Fair enough. Where is this library?
A few blocks from here. If you wait, her sister is due by a few minutes to pick up some things. He'd be happy to escort you.
Very well, Blue said. Black arched an eyebrow, but nodded his head. Clearing the skies of all of the clouds in Ponyville was the easiest job for Rainbow Dash, since it only took her 10 seconds to do so. Her colleagues were impressed by her skills, and they always tried to keep up with her pace, but they were nowhere near to her level. Once she was done with her part of the work, she always assisted the others in finishing theirs sooner. By the next hour, the work had been done, and they called it a day. Rainbow decided to enjoy the rest of the afternoon in a manner she knew best, napping on a soft cloud and dreaming.
Rainbow Dash!
Rainbow shot up from the cloud at lightning speeds, and looked around to see who was calling her. She spotted the pink bouncing pony bouncing on the clouds coming toward her, and she began to question logic at the moment, because Earth ponies are not supposed to be able to walk on clouds unless somebody performed a spell to do so.
I'm so glad to find you! We got trouble!
Rainbow rolled her eyes and shook her head, face-overing it and sighed.
Pinky, what is it now? Did the cake twins blow up the oven? Did Cubby swallow your cupcake? Did Twilight blow a gasket?
Pinky just let it dead.
No, silly. That was last week,
she replied before her eyes started glaring.
There are spies at Ponyville.
It was Rainbow's turn to start laughing, as she held her stomach and rolled on the cloud.
Spies? Hey,
that's a good one, she said as she wiped the tears from her eyes and saw Pinky staring at her with no mirth in hers. Rainbow gulped at this and stood up slowly. You serious?
As serious as Twilight is about friendship reports.
Rainbow lifted herself up from the cloud and flew toward Pinky. Okay, let's go get Twilight. She must know of this.
Okie dokie lookie,
she said as they made their way back toward Ponyville. Once they left, Scootaloo came out from the bushes she was hiding in. She looked pale and frightened beyond belief. She started breathing loudly and looked down on the ground, where a tear puddle formed.
No, I can't go back. I won't.
Chapter 2. Why did we wait for this dragon to escort us? Black mumbled to his partner as Spike led them to the library. If we act accommodating, there's less of a chance to put up a fight to keep her. We finally cornered the foe. We don't want to bust this up. The other agent nodded in agreement, and Spike pushed open the door with one claw, careful not to tip the stack of scrolls in his other arm.
Mom, we have some ponies who want to talk to you. Tell them to come in here, Spike.
Twilight called from the other room.
I'm kind of in the middle of something.
Oh, I forgot to mention about this, but the story? 6 months later. The two agents looked at each other with some amusement that a dragon considered a pony its mother, but hid it when he turned to face them. Sorry, my mom got caught up in work. Just go on in. With a mumbled thank you, the two ponies did so. They found Twilight surrounded by books, all floating around her in a half circle. She was constantly checking the pages while scribbling notes on a piece of parchment sitting on her desk. She only glanced at them briefly.
Hello there.
Sorry about my manners. I'm a bit anxious to finish the report. It's not a problem, Miss Bucko. Blue assured. We're here for the Department of Full Services. We understand that you keep the town records here. At this, Twilight actually took a step closer to them. You need the mayor's permission to. At this, Black produced a scroll with the mayor's signature. Twilight took it and skimmed it through, before nodding. Looks legitimate. What do you need to look up? We came here for a runaway filly, Blue explained as Black pulled out her photograph for her to see. Twilight's eyes widened in shock. All her books fell to the ground, but she paid them no mind. It can't be. Scootaloo? You know her? Black asked, sounding concerned. Well, yes. Spike spends time with her sometimes, and my friend's sisters are her friends. She explained. Where is she living? Twilight shook her head. That I don't know. Much more than that, I'm afraid. Sometimes they come in here for school work or come play with my boy, but other than that, I don't see them much. Blue looked down on Spike, who was becoming more nervous by the second, and fled to his mother's side. A bit unusual, wouldn't you say? Twilight blinked her eyes. I beg your pardon. Blue looked into the mayor's eyes. It's rather unusual for a mayor to have a dragon whelp as a son, especially a mayor of your status. Twilight simply smiled and reached out her hoof to hold Spike near her. Well, being the princess's student has led me to many interesting and wonderful things. My boy here is by far the most wonderful thing I've discovered. She answered to them, with Spike looking up at her at awe in her words. Black and Blue stood there, showing no emotion to her words. We'll take your word for it. On a more urgent matter, do you know of any pony who might lead us to Scootaloo? Twilight tapped her hoof to her chin. Well, there is one pony I know, but... Hi, Twilight! All the ponies jumped slightly and gasped at the sudden call that came from the door. Blue and Black immediately turned to the source, only to be greeted by a hyperactive Earth pony and a very energetic Cyan Pegasus. Pinkie Pie bounced beyond inside the two stoic Earth ponies, with Rainbow right behind her, and hugged her unicorn friend. How have you been? Do you need anything? Did something with your boy? How's Spike, by the way? How are you doing? Do you need a part? Pinkie! Twilight shouted at her friend, with a deafening silence surrounding the room. Pinkie, everything is okay. Spike is good as well. She told her absurd friend, who had stopped bouncing all over the library. Now, is there any reason you came here to visit me, other than trying to throw a party? Pinkie opened her mouth to speak, but Rainbow pushed her out of the way. Twilight! Pinkie says there's spies roaming Ponyville, she said bluntly to a unicorn friend, who withheld a giggle with her hoof to her mouth. Rainbow, there aren't any spies. Pinkie was probably talking about these two, Twilight said, motioning to Black and Blue, who were looking a little nonplussed at the interruption. Oh, the sign blushed, suddenly feeling awkward. Oh, are you spying for Celestia? The changeling? Yes. Pinkie was cut off by Twilight magically sealing her mouth shut. Pinkie, that's enough. Wait, you're Rainbow Dash? Black asked, winner of the Young Flyers competition last year. Hearing praise, the Pegasus puffed out her chest. The one and only. You a fan? I have a relative who keeps an eye on the best flyers in Equestria. He tends to go on about you. Well, he has good taste, the mayor answered smugly. Anyway, the Blue said through gritted teeth, could you be on your way? We were just asking Miss Sparkle about... Actually, Rainbow Dash was the mayor I was talking about. She knows about Scootaloo. At this, the Pegasus' ears perked up. She looked at the two agents with concern. What do you want with Scootaloo? Ma'am, we're with the Department of Full Services, Black explained. The one you call Scootaloo ran off from an orphanage nearly 2 years ago. Hearing this caused the three mares and Spike's mouth to drop opening. Rainbow rubbed her forehead with one hoof. I don't believe it. She lied to me, she said softly. Black arched an eyebrow. What do you mean? Well, one of the school bullies accused her of being homeless just this morning. She told me it wasn't true, though. Well, she is. She ran off because she refused to follow the rules of where she was kept. She was a little troublemaker. Blue said, a tinge of regret in his voice.
Aw, that poor filly.
Piggy said. Black cleared his throat with a light cough. It is imperative that we find her and return her to the orphanage before she gets into serious trouble, he told the other ponies in the room, with Rainbow frowning a bit at this. Where exactly is this orphanage? She asked Black, who blinked at her without changing his expression at all. Back in Canterlot, miss, he answered her dismissively, though Rainbow's expression became crestfallen at this news.
But she has friends here in Ponyville. Can't she just transfer to here instead?
Piggy asked the two ponies, though their expressions did not change in the slightest. Regulations for a transfer takes months to process, even for special cases like her, Blue explained to Rainbow, though with the word special. Black smirked slightly, but was not noticed by Rainbow, as he began to breathe heavily and blink excessively.
What about adoption? I could adopt a little thing as he could.
Miss Dash, Blue explained to her, that can only be done with the consensus of the Department of Full Welfare, and you have to go through countless interviews to gain special status as a legal guardian. Not to mention, you must be of legal age to adopt a foal and be responsible for the foal's welfare. Rainbow was becoming livid at these two finding ways to keep Scootaloo away from her friends. Meanwhile, Twilight's mind was going through some extensive thinking as Blue and Black spoke to Rainbow about loss of adoption. Spike just remained silent as he leaned in closer to his mother, with him becoming more afraid of these two ponies. Rainbow Dash huffed and crossed her hooves as he hovered in front of them. So no matter what I suggest, there's no way to keep Scootaloo here in Ponyville at all? Blue shook his head with eyes closed. You are twisting our words. We told you that legal actions need to be taken before proper adoption can be done. She will first have to return to Canterlot before we can arrange proper guardians for her and... What do you mean, proper guardians? Rainbow asked them as he flew dangerously close to Blue's face, though he never flinched at all to her interrogating stare. Quite simply, we are talking about responsible ponies who have experience with raising foals and not are a hazard to a foal's welfare, he told her nonchalantly, though this only fueled Rainbow's growing anger at these two for telling her indirectly she was not a responsible mare. Rainbow was still for a few seconds before something popped inside her head. Can I see your identification cards? Right here, Blue informed her before his muzzle dipped into his pocket. A few seconds later, he fished out an ID card and showed it to her. Seeing this, the Pegasus' wings drooped. That's real, all right, she sighed. Twilight and Pinky looked at each other. Rainbow Dash, how do you know... Look, the Pegasus cut her friend off. Scootaloo will probably listen to me. The kid practically idolizes me. Why don't you just let me go get her and bring her to you? The two angels looked at each other. Well, if you think it will work, Blue said slowly. We believe you should know. The filly was known to exaggerate things about how bad the orphanage was. If she tells you anything, I'd advise just blocking it out. All right, Rainbow Dash answered half-heartedly. Give me an hour. I can find her by then. It took only 20 minutes for Rainbow Dash to find her number one fan. She was in a cave just to the north of where she found her crying earlier that morning. Luckily, she had caught sight of the little filly entering the cave, looking nervous. Flying to the cave entrance, she saw what looked to be a lived-in area. A sleeping bag with a stuffed animal beside it, a slab that had a few berries and apples on it, as well as a cookie that must have been gotten as a gift from Sugar Cube Corner. A canteen was next to them, presumably filled with water. Another slab held a school notebook and some pencils, obviously used as a desk of some kind. Scootaloo herself was currently sending out several berries into a bundle sack, looking scared. Scoots? The orange filly jumped nearly 3 feet in the air before turning.
Rainbow Dash?
Kid, do you leave here?
No,
Scootaloo said immediately, looking even more frightened as he was before. Really? Because there's 2 stallions at Twilight's library who say differently. Scootaloo's fur became pale, and her eyes shrank at the mention of those 2 ponies.
No, I will return. I won't. I can't.
She jumped out and tried to make it out the exit to the cave, but was stopped as Rainbow held on to her with all her might, as Scootaloo screamed and squirmed in her legs. Rainbow was shocked to see her number one fan look so frightened or drastic in the years she had known her. The sight of Scootaloo at that moment was making her eyes moist as she was reliving a few childhood memories. Listen, Scoots, I know the orphanage is not a great place, but I'll talk to Celestia all about this, okay? She tried to calm the filly down, which worked if only for a few moments. I'll talk to her to get you back at Ponyville and be... They're not from the orphanage, Rainbow! What? Rainbow asked Scootaloo, who looked up at Rainbow with bloodshot eyes. What do you mean, they're not from the orphanage? I saw their ID cards myself. They looked legit to me, and... They're fakes! They're not going to take me back there. She said that last word with venom dripping from her muzzle, as absolute terror was somehow related to that word. Rainbow remembered what those two ponies said, simply shook her head. Look, I don't know what you're playing at, but you need to go back. Scootaloo looked up at Rainbow in disbelief, glared at her with her moist eyes. So, you're going to believe those two liars instead of your number one fan? Rainbow backed her head away slightly at those words, whilst he was still holding on to Scootaloo, but then frowned on the little filly. You lied to me now, so that doesn't exactly help you, does it? She told her as she continued looking down at the little filly with disappointment. Scootaloo felt like her heart had been ripped apart. Her role model and inspiration was siding with those two ponies who would return her to the place she escaped from. She realized that her words would fall on deaf ears, even as she told Rainbow the truth. She glared at the Rainbow mare, shaking slightly in anger as she lowered her head and mumbled something. Rainbow raised her eyebrow and lowered her head. What did you say? She asked Scootaloo instantly. Scootaloo mumbled again, a bit louder as she shook more of Rainbow's forelegs. Scootaloo, what are you saying? I hate you! You don't mean that, Dash said. Yes, I do! You want to send me back there! I'm telling you, I'm sure an orphanage. It's not an orphanage! She yelled. Rainbow Dash sighed. All right, I'll bite. Where are they going to take you if not to an orphanage? Scootaloo was quiet for a moment. This might sound crazy, but you have to believe me. I'm listening. Scootaloo kicked at the ground a bit before continuing. Those two aren't with the DFS. They're working for a guy called Dr. Bloodwing. Dr. Bloodwing? Rainbow Dash asked, arching an eyebrow. Yeah, the younger filly said, annoyed. He's a scientist, and he's crazy. He wants to make an alicorn. At this, the Scion Pegasus' eyes actually widened. What? I told you, he's crazy. He's kidnapped a lot of ponies and experimented on them. He's trying to recreate an Earth pony's strength, a Pegasus wings, and a unicorn horn, and put it all into one pony. Uh-huh. And he kidnapped you? He had to! I don't remember anything from before. I just woke up one day in that cage he put me in. I finally escaped 2 years ago, and I'm not going back! There was silence for a few moments. See, this is why you need some adult supervision. You read way too many comic books. With that, Rainbow Dash grabbed Scootaloo and began pulling her toward the outside. What? No! Let me go! Kid, you don't expect me to believe all that. I'm not an egghead like Twilight is. But I'm not an idiot. Scootaloo was crushed. She had just told Rainbow her darkest secret, but even now the mare scoffed at it off as a mere fool's imagination. She glared at Rainbow with all the anger she could muster. I don't idolize you anymore. Rainbow, crash! She yelled at the Pegasus and spat on her face. Rainbow flinched at this, trying to remove the phlegm from her eyes with her hooves. At that moment, Scootaloo bucked Rainbow hard with her hind legs and made a run for it. Though she was bad at injuring Rainbow Dash slightly, she had no choice but to try and get away as far as possible. She thought she was a safe distance away, but horror struck her when she felt hooves reaching for her. She turned to see a very angry-looking Rainbow Dash behind her, and tried to increase her running speed. But she was no match for the Rainbow Pegasus' flying speed. She was soon lifted from the ground, with Scootaloo flailing in the air as she held Rainbow Dash's forelegs and flying toward Ponyville, albeit slower than expected. No! Let me go! Please! Rainbow Dash sighed slightly. Listen, Scoots, I don't know what's gotten into you, but I promise you that
I don't want to go back to that place. Please, Rainbow, let me go. Please, don't let them take me there.
Scootaloo pleaded with Rainbow, whose eyes became moist as he was in the mortal turmoil at the sight of her #1 fan. One part of her mind told her that this was wrong, and to let Scootaloo go, whilst the other part told her that she was fooling her, and she needed to return her to her safety. Squirt, I know the orphanage is not a fun place, but no, I will visit you, and I will get you back to Ponyville faster than you can say Sonic Rainboom, she told the filly who was squirming in the forelegs. Scootaloo sniffed as tears fell from her eyes.
Just kill me already, please.
Rainbow Dash abruptly stopped at these words, and looked at Scootaloo with horrified eyes.
What did you just say? I said just kill me!
She repeated those dreadful words to Rainbow, who just stared in absolute shock at the little filly.
They're going to do worse things to me. I just know it. If you really care for me, just let me go or kill me here. I don't want to head back to that place.
Rainbow was staring at Scootaloo, like as she spoke the most insane words ever. This filly, just turning 10 years old, was pleading for euthanasia from Rainbow Dash. Rainbow could not help but release a tear of tears as she held Scoots close to her, her image of bravado cast away in the process.
I don't know what happened to you back there to make you think that way. But no, I will come back for you, Scoots. I promise you.
Scootaloo remained silent until one word was spoken from her.
Liar.
What?
You're giving me to him. I can't trust you. You won't protect me.
Scoots, please.
No! Let me go!
Sighing, Rainbow Dash kept flying forward. Twilight's library was nearly in sight.
Look, it won't be so bad, and you'll be back here in Ponyville before you know it. I know the princess, remember? She can help me cut through any red tape those agents can try, and they're not agents!
Scootaloo screamed, then gave a gasp of horror as he saw the two agents. Twilight, Spike, and Pinky were still there, looking outward.
No, no, no!
Black held what appeared to be a straitjacket with a handle on his back. What on earth is that? Rainbow Dash demanded quickly. A strain belt for foes, Blue said coldly.
That seems a bit abrasive,
she said slowly. With all due respect, Miss Dash, not all ponies are gifted with flight or levitation like you and Miss Sparkle. We must make do, and this child brought this upon herself. Rainbow Dash turned to Twilight, who nodded at her friends.
I double-checked. It's a legitimate piece of equipment. At least, for Earth Pony agents.
Rainbow looked back to the agents. Blue softened a bit. It'll be just until we get her to our carriage, strap her in. It was no contest. Scootaloo bucked and shouted, but Black and Blue restrained her with such efficiency that Spike found himself hiding behind Twilight. Scootaloo now hung at Black's mouth, bucking and screaming. We thank you for your cooperation, Miss Sparkle, and your help, Miss Dash.
Well, yeah, don't get attached to her, the Pegasus warned. I'm going to get her back sooner or later. I don't want to see you again. You gave me back to them.
You must be quiet now, little one. You're in plenty of trouble as it is. Blue gently chastised, then turned to Rainbow Dash. Well, we look forward to seeing you again. Come on, Black. As he said those words, Blue trotted outside, followed by Black, who was holding a squirmy Scootaloo into restraint. As the door closed, Rainbow could not help but cry with her hose in her face, trying to stop the flow of tears that were escaping her eyes. Twilight came over and held on to her, patting her head and stroking her head to calm her down. It didn't work very well.
Don't worry, Rainbow. I'll write to Princess Celestia now and get her counsel to get Scootaloo back. I promise,
she assured Rainbow, whose head was buried at Twilight's shoulders as he gave a nod. Spike, who was quiet the whole time, came with a scroll and quill and started writing as Twilight spoke her letter out. One thought was in his mind this whole time. I've got a bad feeling about this. Just outside Ponyville, A lone grayish carriage was parked outside near the orchards of Apple Acres. Blue and Black walked toward it, Scootaloo screaming and flailing in the air as he was bounded by a jacket. "Let me go, you creeps!" Blue and Black ignored her screams as he approached the carriage. "Finally, Mr. Accomplice, after 2 years," Blue commented to Black, who nodded with his head as he held Scootaloo in the jacket. "When I get loose, you're going to—" With a swift hoof colliding into her gut, her eyes rolled into the back as she coughed a little blood before falling unconscious. Blue turned his head to his partner. "You didn't have to do that," he told him as he gagged Scootaloo with tough right around her muzzle and juggled her into the carriage, locking the door in the process. She was fucking annoying. Any more of her blasted voice, and I would just have to kill her, Black told Blue, who frowned at his partner now. "Our orders are to bring her back alive!" Black sneered at Blue. "No pony said she had to be bruise-free." He snickered sickly as they hooked the carriage to their frames and made their way from Ponyville. As they left, an orange earth pony came from behind an apple tree with petrified eyes as that just happened. She gulped and shook her head vigorously, adjusting her Stetson hat. "I gotta tell the others about this." She galloped toward the library, hoping Twilight was present, as Applejack had just witnessed an act of full napping.